Come on. To the United States of Paranormal, presenting Dolltober, a month-long event where these two teams will be delivering terrifying tales of positively adorable possessed dollies. It's going to be so much fun.
Welcome back to the United States of Paranormal podcast, where fucking Brandon, stop counting. Welcome back to the United States of Paranormal podcast, your weekly road trip through all things cryptid, creepy, and paranormal. And that's right, it's a Saturday, not a Wednesday. What's going on?
Everybody's waiting for the weekend.
I'll let you know what's going on. It's Dolltober, and like we stated in our last episode, Dolltober is going to start on the 1st, and it's going to end on the 31st. So we'll have a few extra episodes this season. And that's right, you heard me say Dolltober, because this whole month, every story we're bringing you, except for at the brewery, is going to be a doll-themed episode. I'm Logan, and sitting next to me, my heterosexual life mate, Matt Frisby.
Hey, everyone.
And sitting next to Matt, Boze.
Hi.
How's everyone doing? We excited for Dolltober? Are we excited for October?
Yeah, I'm fucking stoked. I love October.
Who doesn't? We're basic bitches.
Not Halloween, just the month October.
Yeah, we're basic bitches.
I'm an
We love
October guy. Oh, yeah. I will fuck up pumpkin spice.
Anything.
Yeah.
Pumpkin spice lattes, pumpkin spice pizza, pumpkin spice lube.
As a matter
Matt's
of
got
fact,
it all.
For the past several months, my favorite coffee has been the Jack-O-Lantern from Bones Coffee.
Fuck, sponsor us, please. I own like 12 of your mugs.
Oh, God. Reach out to them.
Love me some Bones.
Do it,
coffee.
Mr. Marketing. Yeah, fucking Bones is... Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I need to try some more of their flavors. I've only tried 3 flavors so far.
One of my favorite flavors is from dusk to donuts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I fucking love that mug too. It's got the vampire with the donuts on it. Oh,
Yeah, I've got the electric unicorn mug, and this is
one that tastes
really
like-
starting to sound like sponsored
Yeah, that's the
content.
electric unicorn's the one that tastes like Fruity Pebbles, isn't it?
It is. I'm actually not into that one.
But you like your mug.
I do like the mug. The mug is a really cool color. I like the logo. I just didn't care for the flavor as much as I thought I would. I also don't care much for the cookies and dream.
I've never been a
either.
cookie and cream kind of.
But it's not a quality thing. It's just a personal taste
the cream,
thing.
aren't you?
Yes, all about the cream.
What are you implying, Brandon?
That just makes me think that
He
Always
really
Sunny
likes
episode
cream.
where they're talking about the cream pies and Always Sunny. I'm like, oh, you are cream pie. No, we're not going to eat them. You've tasted your own. Of course. I make the best cream pies. No, but seriously, Bones Coffee, sponsor us. You're delicious. I love from dusk to donuts and mint invaders. If I can.
Oh, I bet
just
Mint
emailed.
Invaders would be really good.
That was a dope mug too. It's got the UFOs and everything on it. It's a fucking weird green colored mug. It's beautiful, beautiful stuff. All right, boys. We're talking about dolls this month. We actually, and it's weird podcast land, we just finished doing an episode with our Team Boozers and everything. We talked about it a little bit. But I don't think we emphasized enough on the importance of dolls in the spooky universe.
Oh, shit. No, we didn't.
Because, good Lord, there's a lot of doll content and creepy stuff.
Doll content.
So much people just being creeped out by dolls just because of the way they look. But then you've got just like, there is lore from dolls that go way back to like ancient Egyptian times and stuff where they thought that they could house spirits inside dolls, to some of the worst things that ever happened to the earth, like things like the goddamn Furby or Teddy Ruxpin. Lifeless looking monstrosities that they tried to push on the kids, be like, you want this? And be like, no, I don't. And the Furby's just sitting there looking at you, licking its lips.
Oh, if you don't ever want to sleep again, just look up the Furby centipede.
Oh, that thing is fucking awful. I hate Furby. You could hear like it was almost like you could hear a Furby thinking, because you could hear the whirring of every gear in that thing. It closes an eye. It's like, it's moving its mouth. It's going, and you're just like, oh, God. Not to mention Teddy Ruxpin's fucking 27-pound ass with his fucking cassette player built into him. And his fucking, like, he could probably chew through a finger with how fucking hard on his fucking animatronics were in his mouth, where it's like, and his buddy, fucking, what was it? Grubby was his buddy, which did a lot less, was a lot bigger, but would, like, sync up with him and talk. But the crazy thing about Teddy Ruxpin, it's much like him. There was, like, those old animatronic Christmas trees and stuff that were small that would sing Christmas songs and move their lips and stuff. It all boiled down to what tape you shoved into that son of a bitch. So if you're sitting there and you're some kids fucking chilling out playing with Teddy Ruxpin and you slip in fucking Dio or Black Sabbath into Teddy Ruxpin, all of a sudden Teddy Ruxpin's coming at you with Crazy Train or something and fucking freaking a kid out. You're just sitting there and you're like, what's that noise? You look over at Teddy Ruxpin, his eyes are moving and he's like, going off the rails on a
Oh man, yeah. This is the my son's pretty young, but this is his first year being afraid of things.
Yeah, he was doing that today.
Yeah, it started with Lowe's, where he saw the 10-foot skeleton, and he was not about that.
Oh, he was scared of that dragon I got him.
I tried to bring him close to it, and he was like, "No, no." And then today, I have a Sea of Thieves background on my computer, and he kept pointing at the skull on the logo, and was like, "That's scary."
Yeah, he was not about that skull.
You got a lot to learn about scary, kid. The only time you should be afraid is when you see us carrying that flag.
Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of doll everything. And this month, this actually kind of boils into what I'm about to talk about. But the second season of the Chucky sci-fi show, which is phenomenal, is dropping this month or in October, which I'm stoked for because that is a great, great show. It really is. It with what happened to the Chucky franchise after Child's Play, like, don't get me wrong, I like Bride of Chucky. It was definitely a dip in quality.
Then you
got the Seed of
Chucky.
Chucky, which was just kicking the franchise straight in the nads. And then you had the Cult of Chucky movies, which weren't bad, honestly.
No, it was like a back to form kind of thing, but
And then-
it didn't have the same.
Now you got the TV show, and the TV show is just, it's great. I can't blow it enough, so you should definitely check it out. I don't know that it's on any streaming service right now, unless you got some like weird like sci-fi channel
There should be.
streamer or something. I don't know. I started watching it because they put out the first 2 or 3 episodes on YouTube for free. I watched those and I was like, I want to keep watching this, and it was on anything. So I literally bought each episode as it came out every week. So I have that rest of that season on Prime, I think.
Probably. I'd try to assume somebody would buy that stuff.
But yeah, I digress. Dolls are spooky. Dolls are everywhere. And this whole month is doll themed. Dolltober. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we have our brand new website, www.theunitedstatesofparanormal.com. And since today is the 1st, if you go there, you will notice that we have a few new designs, including our Dolltober designs and our Poor Brothers trick-or-treating designs for the brewery show that happens on the 29th. Those designs are limited edition. Once the last day of October ticks past your calendar, they're gone. They go in the archive. They won't be there anymore. It's a really cool design, too. We've got a new logo that is a little voodoo doll chilling on top of a pumpkin that's got our podcast name carved into it, and in the guts of the pumpkin on the ground, it says Dolltober. Not to mention our trick-or-treater's pretty dope himself. So go check him out. Tell us what you think. And if there is, we have them on t-shirts. I think we're going to try out some 3/4 sleeve shirts, too. If there is something you would rather them on, some people in Texas will still be wearing tank tops as October rolls around because of Texas.
Yeah.
For our people up in the north where it actually gets cold during the fall, if you want it on some long sleeves, let us know. We can do that for you. Just hit us up. Check it out. Boys, y'all got anything you want to talk about before we dive into it?
Shoot. I mean, we just shot an episode, so we've kind of...
I believe in you. We didn't talk much about what our day was or anything. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anybody got anything specific they're excited for in the month of October? I know we're all excited for the beginning of November because we're going to Renaissance Festival.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
I mean, our October is chocked full of stuff for us to do. We're going to be busy.
Yeah, that's it. Like, aside from just going out there as a crew for the podcast to different events that are happening locally, I don't think there's really much happening that to look forward to in October.
Well, we've got a lot
Like
of
just
events
out in the world.
movie-wise.
Oh yeah, well I'm saying the events and stuff that we're doing is cool and all. But as far as like personal level stuff, like movies or games or anything like that, there's nothing I can really think of that's happening in October.
Yeah, unfortunately, we do live in a pretty dry area for that stuff.
Yeah.
Opposed to people that live close to any kind of theme park, because usually theme parks, including Disneyland, Six Flags, Cedar Point, all of these places do amazing things for Halloween. And we used to have Astro was it Land? Astroworld, which Astroworld did a phenomenal Halloween thing, which I hit up the last year that they were open. But unfortunately, they tore that bitch down and turned it into a parking lot, so it's not really an option anymore.
I've never been to Astroworld. I used to live in Fort Worth, and so we would go to. I've been to once. Six Flags Over Texas.
I haven't been to Six Flags Over Texas since I was a wee lad.
And I'll admit it, I went on the Texas Giant, which was a big ass wooden roller coaster, and I said no more roller coasters, and I went on all the kid rides instead.
I absolutely love roller coasters. But that is just me.
Yeah, like I heard there is actually a weekend haunted ride that the Weekend put on, like at Paramount
That's cool.
or Universal, one of those two.
What,
It was like Universal California.
all of those places do it because, well, there's Knoxberry Farm does Not Scary Farms. Like I said, they're doing the Fear Nights over there in Florida, where they're having the Killer Clowns set up this year.
Oh,
and a
that'd
bunch
be
of other
sick.
stuff. Yeah, no, it'd be cool to, because it's basically walking through the sets and everything. But like I said, we don't live in a great area for it. The closest thing we have is the Haunted Hotel, which is all right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the Maze of Terror, who was nice enough to let us take pictures with them, won't be open this year because they're doing a massive rebuild, but they will be open next
Should
year.
we try and go to the Haunted Hotel?
I mean, we could always check it out. That's
Yeah.
that's where I took Kayla on our first date. was the
Aren't
Haunted
you
Hotel.
the romantic?
I try. You know, I took her to Putt Putt, where she stomped my ass, and then we went to the Haunted Hotel.
Yeah, I've never been to the Haunted Hotel, so
Really
I'd be cool
It's
to
right there on
check it
downtown
out.
Beaumont. It's not bad. As other events we're going, actually next weekend on the 1st, when you guys are listening to this, me and Matt will be at Ingenious Brewing, trying out all their cereal monster beers that they're dropping. So they got Stout Chocula, Blueberry Fluff, Fruit Brute, Frankenfrost, and Yummy Mummy. And I'm stoked for that.
Yeah, that'll be dope.
Oh yeah, I've always loved the General Mills monsters. Anybody that's been to my house has seen in my kitchen, I've got little pop figures and Pez dispensers and signs. I even
Butt
have
plugs.
butt plugs. I got a Frankenberry butt plug, not a butt pug. Two different things. I'm stoked for that event.
One's a crime.
Yeah. I can't wait to check that out. Like I said, we've got a bunch of movie stuff that we're going to be doing. I know we're keyed up to see
Ghostbusters. Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Killer Clowns.
Killer
is on
Clowns
13th.
and Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat.
I also want to see if we can't get a group to go see the new Hellraiser.
Does that drop this month too?
Yeah, they're doing it. Looks like they're doing a
The last Halloween movie with Jamie Lee Curtis drops this month too.
Yeah.
I never saw the first
We're missing out.
What, Hellraiser
to
or
this
Halloween?
franchise. I mean, technically both.
Hellraiser, you know how I feel about it. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
New one looks interesting. I'll give it a shot because it's relaunching the franchise.
Which they need to do.
The Halloween movies, the current ones, I'm not super impressed with, personally. It's all I don't know how to word it. I'm just gonna go with it's all guts, no glory. It's about over the top kills and the plot just because I'll tell you what, the last one that came out before this one, dude, I get what they did. They brought back a lot of nostalgic actors because they brought back characters who were in the first movie that haven't acted since, pretty much.
But let's
And
not comment and say that Halloween has been known for its plot.
Okay, but it's been better and it's been better acted. That last movie, They said evil dies tonight probably 70 fucking times in that movie.
Oh,
At one
no.
point, the whole town was chanting it. Everybody is being a badass in that movie. Everybody's like, oh, no more. He's not saying this anymore. Evil dies tonight. And then 2 minutes later, somebody else was like, evil dies tonight. And at one point, it kind of seems like that scene in South Park where like, they took my dog. And it just progressively just becomes fucking white noise because everybody's just chanting evil dies tonight. It's just... But on the bright side, this is supposed to be bookending that series. At least if they do it again, it's going to have to be a reboot.
Yeah. Well, and they won't get Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's going to, like I said, it's closing it. It's closing that one with her. She'll be done with it. And if they do it again, it's going to have to be starting over again. Hopefully when they start it over again, they do it as a timepiece. They bring it back to the 70s. So we don't have people running around with cell phones making TikToks of Michael Myers while he's trying to murder them and shit like that. I really feel like nowadays, for the most part, horror movies have to be timepieces to feel viable. You know, because I hate that trope of I've got no cell phone signal.
Yeah.
Be like, yeah, okay, maybe you don't,
I mean,
but the dude next to you that's on T-Mobile or the guy left of you that's on AT&T, somebody's gonna have some service somewhere.
I mean, there's been some interesting horror films in the last few years, though. Like, I really enjoy. You probably laugh, but I actually enjoyed Happy Death Day.
No, Happy Death Day was good. Sequel sucked ass.
The
It got-
sequel turned into
funny.
really dark humor.
It did. It was funny, but yeah, no, it was good. What I really liked was Freaky,
Yeah.
which was the play on Freaky Friday, but it was a teenage girl swapped bodies with Matthew Vaughn, who was a fucking serial killer.
Yeah.
And that movie was way better than I thought it should have been at all. It had Homegirl from Supernatural. in it.
Yeah, I saw. They did a lot of ads for it, but I never ended up
It
seeing
was such a good movie. Vince Vaughn did fantastic. She did fantastic. The kills were gnarly.
Like I said, Vince Vaughn is an underrated actor.
There was such an awkward scene in that movie. Like, it's Vince Vaughn. The teenage girl is in Vince Vaughn's body, right? Mm-hmm. Her love interest knows she's in there, and they have a moment in the car. There was like a romantic moment while she's in Vince Vaughn's body. Like, they start talking and have like a heart to heart, and they start to lean in like they're about to kiss.
No.
And I was just like, because one, illegal because the dude's still in high school
Yeah.
and Vince Vaughn, but it was so really well acted, but it was still really painful to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would definitely. Freaky's good. There is good modern. It's just we've gotten away from the glory days of horror.
Well, you gotta know how to work around technology in order to do horror well.
And fuck me, this is a hot button and I'm gonna have people come at me sideways, but fuck me, do I hate elevated horror. I hate it. You can take your Babadooks and your Hereditaries and shove them right up your ass. You want to come at me? Hit me up at the United States of Paranormal at gmail.com. I don't care. The Babadook sucked.
You were literally going after was considered the best horror film of the decade.
I don't care. That movie, did you watch it?
Yeah,
The scariest
enjoyed
part
it.
of that movie was how fucking awful that little kid was. That's it. The movie can eat my ass raw. Like I said, you can come at me. The United States of Paranormal at gmail.com. Tell me why I'm wrong. I'll sit down and watch it with you.
That's okay. Jeremy's
I
already
don't
going
like
to dox you. So
Yeah.
I just don't.
end up with an armed mob outside your house.
I don't like it. And Hereditary was haunting, was not scary. It was haunting. It's haunting imagery. For me, the same with what was that movie? Not Hereditary. Wait, no, am I mixing it up? Hereditary, I am mixing it up. Hereditary was not, I did not really like Hereditary. I'm thinking of Midsummer.
Okay. All right.
Midsummer can blow me. That movie was not scary. Haunting imagery. Hereditary had scary moments. Still not a great flick. There are 2 scenes in Hereditary that will haunt me the rest of my life. I will give it that. But I do not classify either of them as scary movies. I classify them as emotional sabotage. People are just blow that movie to you left and right, and then by the time you sit down and you finish it, you feel like you've been wronged.
Yeah, no,
least on my end.
I will categorize Midsummer as hot garbage. that movie is pretentious trash.
You hear that, Skywalker? Come at him.
Yeah. Oh,
Wait, you were
I will
talking about
fight
like
for
modern
this.
horror films. You were the one who was blowing Nope.
I like Nope. I thought it was a fantastic movie. Have you watched it yet?
I haven't watched it yet.
I'm not going to spoil anything because you both should watch it. First of all, Jordan Peele fucking kills it.
Yeah,
All of his movies, he
He's
kills
the
it.
best modern horror director.
I agree. And I agree. I have never seen anything like Nope. And it is great. The problem with Nope is, and yet again, people are going to want to come at me, a lot of the people that shit on it review-wise, like it killed it in box office. A lot of people that shit on it review-wise are people that the theme of the movie literally flew right over their head like the fucking UFO itself. It's people that did not get what he was going for. It did not get the theme and what, as a culture, he was shitting on. And they didn't understand it. So they're like, none of this makes sense. And then they went and it's like, what's his, Logan Paul, I think, or one of the Paul brothers, I think it was Logan Paul, tried to shit on it on Twitter and like did like 4 tweets in a row to fit enough text in there to shit on it. And then all these famous directors and actors came at him and was like, good to know that you didn't get the premise of the movie in the slightest. They're like, you are literally what this movie is about. And they just shit on him for it. Fantastic movie. I'll stand by it.
Me and Matt do need to watch it.
That's my only downside of the new Scream movie was phenomenal. One of the best ones they've done in forever. And the problem with that movie is one of the main chicks is all about elevated horror. And she shits on some of the classics and she was like, the Babadook, this and this and that. And I was like, fuck, stab her, Ghostface. Fucking stab her.
I mean, I am so bad. I've been watching anything, so not surprised you're not seeing much in the way of horror films right now. But I imagine Scream is a really good film that works in modern time because it is so easy to stalk someone nowadays.
Scream is one of those ones that they will be able to revisit for the rest of forever.
Yeah.
Because no matter how you cut that cake, it is still plausible.
Yeah. Like there is a website you can go to now where you upload a selfie of yourself. And what it will do is pull up a security camera showing you take that selfie.
Scream will always work because and every one of them is always evolved with the time.
Yeah.
Like when GoPros became big and that one hit, they had GoPros in the movie. And it's like this one, it's like technology has evolved. So like the one scene, the chick locks her door with an app, right? Well, if there's an app that can do it, there's an app that can undo it. So she's locked it, and then all of a sudden her phone goes beep, and the locks go off. They unlock, and then she locks again, and then it unlocks again, and it's just like ooh, and it's just like I said, it can always be done.
Oh, I mean that would be incredibly easy to do actually as well, especially with most people not understanding how Wi-Fi works.
People, if you want to secure your house with your Wi-Fi, get a router and put it on whitelist only mode so people can only connect to your internet if you allow their MAC address onto your Wi-Fi.
And change the default username and password on your freaking routers. That's a big
Yeah,
one.
I think it was actually groundbreaking when that first movie came out because they were talking about things that next to nobody knew about in like normal everyday life.
Yeah.
Like cloning cell phones. And like in that movie, cell phones were still so new to where the cop gave the boy shit to where he was like, oh, you got one of these cellular phones, huh? Why do you have one of those? And it was like, he was like, oh, because I have money? I don't know. It's like where it was unnormal to have a cell phone.
Yeah.
I love that franchise. It has had its duds, as do most franchises, but they fucking killed it with this last one. I'm actually kind of sad to see that they're doing another one because I really feel like they could have just bow tied it off with this last one.
Yeah, well,
but it made so much money that there's no way.
Yeah,
the
nobody ever wants to just do a one-off film anymore. It's always, how can we leverage this into a franchise and keep making movies?
The one movie I thought that was going to be a franchise never got a sequel.
What was that?
What?
Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
That was a great movie, but it also could just stand on its own.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It does stand on its own, but like they talk about how they've always wanted to do a sequel, but they just don't get a good enough script, so they just refuse
It's
to
like
do it.
That's
Trick or
fine.
Treat. I want a sequel, and the sequel's been greenlit.
Yeah.
But it's also scary because it's like a movie that you care about so much and is so good
Yeah.
the sequel could just seldomly do things like Terminator 2, where the next one's better, happens.
Okay, but here's the thing about Trick or Treat. Even if the sequel is bad, the way that movie is designed, it won't hurt the franchise.
Yeah, no, I feel you.
Like, it doesn't detract. Like, it's not like a continuation of the story where the sequel ruins the overarching story, because it's all just short stories. So
yeah, it's an anthology. The only thing you need to make Trick or Treat 2 is just to have Sam, the one thing that interconnects everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's still, though, it's one of those movies where, especially with anthologies, there's always the one in the anthology that you're just like, eh. And with Trick or Treat, I don't have that moment with any of them. I enjoy every one of them in Trick or Treat.
Yeah, like I said, probably I would just have to think Tucker and Dale, though, is probably my favorite, like, dark comedy, like, even more so than, like, Evil Dead. Just because it's such a play on horror films as a genre, like, specifically the slasher flicks. And it's like there's so much meta commentary between, like, swapping between your different point of views of the teenagers and of Tucker and Dale.
Yeah.
Where it's like even the style camera and lenses they're using changes, and their color gradient changes between the two.
It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, like, it's fantastically shot, fantastically written, fantastically acted. I want a sequel.
Yeah.
Like, they could do something new.
But it's also nice just to have one-off films.
Yeah.
Really good one-offs.
Like I said, I expect somebody to come at me, bare minimum one person to come at me for saying all that, but it is what it is. There are different strokes of horror fans. The new modern thing is like the elevated horror fans, and there's the people that fucking want to mainline every Paranormal Activity that ever comes out. And then there's people that like old slashers, and then
my problem with my thing with elevated horror. If you like elevated horror, that's great. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Don't come at me sideways.
If you
like a
think
Mormon.
elevated horror is
End all be all,
top tier cinema, you're pretentious. Like, it's like,
we're gonna get added so hard.
I'm gonna fight people. Yes, Midsommar is Oscar bait, and it was just tragedy porn and gore porn, and mixed with a boring story.
You're forgetting it was actually porn at one point too. The fuck hut.
Yeah, like, it is.
Oh, the fuck hut.
You get so many good movies. Like, what's that movie? Bloody Mary.
Never saw it. What are you talking about?
You should watch it. So basically, the whole idea of the movie is it's about a medical student going to be a doctor, like trying to learn to be a surgeon, top of her class. She gets invited to a party by her professors, and her professors end up raping her.
Oof.
Oh.
And then so she quits school, and she starts becoming she does body mods for people, where, like, she does all sorts of shit. Where, like, there's one scene where she took the arm off of twins and swapped the arms around, like, all sorts of stuff, gauges in weird places and all. But she ends up trying to get revenge on the professors and starts doing horrible, heinous things to people.
Oh god, no, that doesn't sound. No.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
straight up body.
Sounds like
horror.
a lot of cutting in there.
I'm good. I'm not one for body horror.
Yeah.
You especially would not like it.
Yeah, I
but
do.
I think you would like it.
Enjoy films where it's a horror film, but it's the good guy doing terrible things to the bad guys. Like Last House on the Left is a good example of that.
Yeah. Hills Have Eyes, stuff like that, where it ends up the horror, where they swapped the horror to where the horror is the piece of shit that the first 15 of the minutes of the movie was the horror bad guy.
Yeah.
To where the victim becomes the scary thing.
That
Yeah.
fucking Nicolas Cage movie.
Oh, were you talking about
Willy's
Willy
Wonderland?
Wonderland. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, technically in that movie, they're locked in there with him. He's not locked in there with them.
That movie is
amazing.
so awesome. I think the only thing that could have made watching that movie more entertaining is if they hid the fact that he was going to just fucking wreck shit. Like, if they made it seem like, if they just showed stuff that showed the animatronics being horrible and killing stuff and being scary, and then had that happen in the film, I think that would have been a really fun watch. I mean, it was really fun to begin with, but I just mean not having that expectation of what the film was going to be going into. It would have been fun too.
You know, we have another movie we have to watch soon. We got the new Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, Blood and Honey. Oh,
Hell yeah, I'm
Jesus.
about it.
Oh, man.
I know it's going to be
God.
great.
I just want to know what kind of voice Pooh Bear is going to do. Is it going to be somebody trying to do the, oh, Christopher Robin, you fucked up now, son? Because that's the only way that new Winnie the Pooh design can be more haunting is if he talks like Winnie the Pooh.
Oh my God, that
He's
would
coming
be
at you
awesome.
sideways with a
man.
sledgehammer.
And I'm still waiting on a Banana Split sequel.
Only thing is, they might not be able to do that voice because that would infringe on Disney, and that might get them sued from Disney.
I don't know, man. They already.
Because of the copyright that came up, if I remember correctly, it's just the original.
It's just
Winnie the
It's
Pooh.
just Pooh Bear and Piglet because technically Tigger and all of them were made years later, so they're not technically public domain yet.
Yeah.
So that's why you see in a trailer there's a gravestone for Eeyore because they can't show him,
Yeah.
so he's just dead.
I mean, let's face it, Eeyore was one step away
probably
from
killed
a
himself.
noose anyways.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, let's dig into our doll. This fucking guy, that Winnie the Pooh movie, man, that blew my mind when that got
Oh,
announced.
I'm so happy.
I mean, it takes a ball, even though it went public domain, it still takes balls for a studio to be like, we'll be the first up to bat.
They were ready to go too. They must have been working on it, prepping for it to hit open
They literally
domain.
been working on that film for years, just waiting for the day
Yeah.
where they can be like, fuck you, Disney, here it is.
Oh yeah, the Spirit Halloween movie.
There's two movies of
comes
that vein
out.
coming out this year because there's the
Yeah.
Spirit Halloween movie where it's going to be Doc Brown. The actor plays Doc Brown is going to be a spirit that is possessing animatronics in the spirit store. And then there's another movie that's being done with one of the brothers from the Scary Movie franchise. Was it the Wayne brothers?
I think so.
He is playing a dad, and something is happening in their town where all the Halloween decorations are coming to life too. That one honestly looks like it's better quality than the Spirit
probably.
Halloween one. I'll watch them both.
Yeah.
It's just funny that there's two. Technically, they're both kind of a play off the Goosebumps, the last two Goosebumps movies though, because the last two Goosebumps movies it was Halloween decorations coming to life, or the last one specifically was about Halloween decorations coming to life in it. So they're all kind of a play off of that. But either way, it's nice to see Netflix is putting out Halloween movies that aren't Hoobie's Halloween. So I'll fucking take it because
Fucking traumatized.
that movie was so bad. Well, on that note, guys, I'm going to take you to our first doll of Dolltober. But to do that, I want to take you back to October 25th, 1900, like literally 1900, where Robert Eugene Otto was born. And then 2 years later, something would be manufactured out of wood, straw, and wool that would change his life for the rest of forever. And that would be Robert the Doll was created 2 years after Robert Eugene Otto was born. In 1904, his grandfather was in Germany, where he came across a window to a Steiff company, which is, if for people that don't know, the company that made the original teddy bear. And in the window was a display with clowns and jesters, and he saw a doll in there, and he went in the store, and he basically Daddy Warbucks that shit. He was like, I want that doll in the window. And they're like, that's not a doll. That is a one-of-a-kind mannequin that we built for this window display. He's like, it's not meant to be played with. It's not a play toy. It's not anything. But he wanted it. He bought it. He got it. The thing is 40 inches tall. So that doll is 3 foot and some change. So
Big ass doll.
Robert the boy was born in 1900s. This doll was purchased in 1904. So that doll is probably the same size as Robert at that point, which is why Robert is adorned in a sailor costume. That sailor costume is actually his owner's that he wore, that he decided to dress him in. Before we dive too much more into that, I want to talk about something that I find kind of flawed with the story of Robert the Doll is his origin. Like how I just told you, the factual origin of Robert the Doll. He was manufactured by the Steiff company. He was bought in Germany from a window display, and he was given to the boy by his grandfather. These are documented facts. The doll itself, when it got put in the museum years and years later, was researched, and actually the Steiff company was like, yes, we made him. He was not made for consumers. He was a window display unit that was not meant to be sold and was. Okay. Well, as we've learned with horror, a lot of people like horror stories and stuff like this. People spin things to accommodate the story they're trying to tell. In our podcast, we're not about that. We want to try to give you as much factual information as we possibly can. Sometimes it's easier than others. In this case, it's easier for us to tell you. We have a roadmap that points that Robert was made by an actual company. He was made by a specific company at a specific time. Robert has a birthday. He was born in 1902. He was manufactured then and there. The popular stories that people like to spin is that Robert was handmade. A big one, the story is dark and twists the narrative to fit whoever started it, what they were trying to do. They were trying to make Robert more spooky in origin than he was. Saying something was created by a teddy bear company doesn't really instill fear in the heart. Saying this, what I'm about to tell you, does. One of the more commonly leaned on stories about Robert the Doll's origin is that when Minnie, Otto, Robert's mom, the boy, Jean, mom got pregnant, she sent her husband overseas to find servants. She wanted him to get 3 servants total. One had to be a woman to be a nanny for their soon-to-be born child. Well, when he got back with his servants, where he got from overseas in Haiti, because they were Haitian, she was livid to find out that the one that was picked out to be the nanny was pregnant. And she was mad because she found out who the daddy was. Her husband. So what she did was she took the woman that was pregnant and locked her in the outhouse for 9 months.
Ooh.
They gave her enough food to survive, not enough food to nourish a healthy pregnancy, and her baby was lost. When they let her out and they let her get her health back, they put her to work like she was established to be there for in the first place, taking care of their son, Robert Eugene Otto. Well, she became attached to Robert. Some would say because she was replacing her own child, because she lost her kid and now she's taking care of a kid. And usually with, not to lean the stereotype, but usually with these rich kids back in the day, they weren't dolted on by their parents. They were pushed off onto the servants.
Yep.
So she grew attached to it. Her and Robert grew close and close. And then one day, his mom, Minnie, walked out and found the Haitian servants at night performing a Santeria ritual. They said that they saw them sacrificing a chicken. And at that point, Minnie was done. Minnie said, no, send them back to where they came from. I don't want them in my house.
Ship them to UPS.
Fired them, and supposedly her husband sent them back. But before they could be sent back, the nanny was said to have forged a doll with Robert's actual hair and give it to him and be like, it will always be here to take care of you because I will not be. But they're saying that the doll was also twisted by the soul of her deceased child and her hate for his mother, Minnie. That is one of them. That is one of, you see the massive difference in story there?
That seems a bit ridiculous.
That is one of the heavily leaned on ones. Another one is literally just cut out all the mistress stuff and a what would be somebody from the Bahamas would be referred to as Bohemian? I don't know. Said that they had servants that came from the Bahamas that just got caught doing voodoo, and then they gave Robert the doll to spite the family. That's another one. But the most heavily implied one is the one about the nanny that had an illegitimate child with the father that got basically tortured until the child didn't survive, and then et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
I hate that that's a thing because one, it just pushes the trope of every person from Haiti or Africa does voodoo instantly.
Yeah.
It's just tacky. It's horrible. And it was just, there is no document saying that family was bad to servants at all. They could have been, but there is nothing saying that Minnie would lock somebody in an outhouse for 9 months of a pregnancy until the baby dies. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, plus, why do they think that that's a scarier origin story? Why not just, like, to me, it's scarier that a mundane object
became twisted.
Yeah.
Like, but it also took something sweet. It took something like a grandfather in Germany thinking about his grandson buying something for him.
Yeah.
It's vanilla. Yes, I get it. But you twisted it into this horrible tale of voodoo and mistreatment of humans and affairs and just made it this big, nasty
because it's a
thing.
more interesting story. That's why they're doing it. Because it's
The amount of media places, like actual media companies that pick that up as if it's a factual story, harkens me back to the Winchester house and all the people like, this is factual, when it's not.
Yeah.
But this one has even more proof. I mean, fucking Robert the Doll, basically, it 100% is proven to have produced by the Weiss Company. He was made. He was there. He was a manufactured doll. He wasn't made by some Haitian servant. That's a fact. I just wanted to cover that beforehand because there's a lot of people that have heard this story, and that's the version that they have heard.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what happened. He was not made there. They might have mistreated servants. They might not have, but a servant did not make Robert the Doll. Robert, like I said, in 1902 was made by the company. In 1904, he was bought by his grandfather and brought back for Robert's 4th birthday on October 25th, 1904, and given to him. This is what I think is more spooky. Like you said, a mundane thing becoming paranormal and twisted. The moment that Robert, the boy, met Robert the doll, he instantly told his family, the doll's name is Robert. And they're like, well, that's your name. And he's like, no, I want to be Gene now. He wanted to start being called Gene, which is a shortening of his middle name, Eugene. From the moment he met that doll, he surrendered his own name to that doll and then gave the doll his favorite outfit, his sailor outfit. So right then and right there, that boy had an instant connection with this doll to where he's literally a 4-year-old being like, I don't want to be my name no more. I want to be something else. This doll's Robert. And this is a doll that is if not the size of, taller than the child itself at this point.
Yeah.
And he became attached to Robert fucking instantly. They became best friends. They did everything together. He had siblings that you seldomly hear about in most tales. Like you would think that Robert, I'm going to start calling him Gene from here on out because that's what he went by. Gene had siblings that you never really hear talk about in any of these stories because they don't really pertain to the story. So people bury him. It makes it seem like Gene was an only child. So it makes it seem less weird that all his interactions belong to him talking to a doll. But he in fact had 2 brothers relatively close to him in age, and he chose to talk to the doll and interact with the doll instead of them and his family. And it wasn't long after the doll came in his life that the phrase Robert did it became a common occurrence in this household. It started off with simple things like a glass of milk getting spilled. What happened? Robert did it.
This
And
is
then
very much like child play.
Well,
Chucky
that's funny
did
that you
it.
would say that because they have credited the creation of Chucky, the creators of him, have credited it to the story of Robert the Doll. There's 2 things that they based Chucky off of, and one was Robert the Doll, and other was a My Buddy doll.
Yeah.
And they said they paired them both together. They paired the aesthetic of the My Buddy dolls, and they took the origin and the Robert did it fact of the Robert doll, and they fused them both together to make Child's Play. So that circles back into that as an actual fact. But it began to grow from like little things to more sketchy things. It would be parents or servants hearing Gene up in his room sounding like having a conversation with a whole nother human being. Because they would hear Gene's voice and they would hear somebody else's voice that did not sound like a child's voice.
They
And then
barge into the room, and the kid's hiding in the corner while the doll's up at a table with a hand of blackjack and some smokes.
It wouldn't be surprising. But they would walk in and they would be like, who are you talking to? And he'd be like, Robert.
Oh, that explains why they went to the whole voodoo thing with Chucky.
Exactly.
Too.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
But one night, his mom wakes up in the middle of the night and hears shrieking. It's Gene, and he is screaming his head off, and they hear things getting slammed. So they run upstairs thinking somebody has broken into Gene's room. And when they get in there, he has a wardrobe that's tumped over. And at this point, he's like 5'6", whole old-ass 1900s wardrobe tumped over, furniture flipped, window broken, toys gutted. And they're like, what happened? What happened? And they're looking around. They're trying to figure out what did this. And at the foot of his bed, Robert is sitting there. And he's like, he's crying. And he's like, Robert did it. And what at that point as a parent, what the fuck do you do? Do you think the 6-year-old fucking flipped the fucking 200-pound wardrobe? Or
Starting to sound like this kid needs to learn to not be a fucking snitch.
It's probably what Robert was saying at me. He was like looking at him and he's like, I mean, the servants did it.
Yeah, like so here's what I'm getting from first encounter, right? You got this doll looking at him and talking to him. Is like, your name's Robert, huh? That's a pretty good name. I think I'll have that.
I'm Robert. Oh, your name's Robert too? No, I'm Robert. You can go by Gene. Gene's kind of a girl's name. I know. Can I go by Eugene? What did I say? My name's Gene.
Now get me a table, get me some playing cards, get me some smokes, kid.
Well, I'll slap your mom on the ass too next time I see her. But yeah.
Robert did it.
Robert
Gene.
did it. But yeah, the room was trashed. It was completely trashed. And at that point, the boy started to be more isolated, more just involved with just Robert. Not talking to family, friends. It's all Robert all the time. And it would keep being problems. At one point, the family had a plumber come over. And the whole family left the house. And the plumber was working. And the plumber said that he could start to hear the laughter of a child and stuff moving. Well, he went upstairs to be like, well, there's nobody else that's supposed to be here. The family was out because, back then the rich people didn't want to be in the house while the plumber was working. It's beneath them. He goes upstairs and there's nobody in the room except for a very large doll in a sailor outfit. So he pays no mind to it. He goes back downstairs.
Who's going to be intimidated by a doll in a sailor outfit?
Have you seen Robert the doll?
As a matter of fact, no, I haven't.
Put it up on your
I'll look it
phone
up right
because
now,
that
yeah.
doll is unsettling looking. Let me
see.
describe Robert to you real quick. Like I said, Robert is about 40 inches tall. He's roughly about 3 foot. He is a felt doll with next to almost no features on his face.
He looks like a crash test dummy.
He has 2 buttons for an eyes, 2 pin dot for nose, and a mouth that is a shape of a mouth but no defining features because Robert was, like I said, never meant to be a toy that was sold. His face was painted on while he was in that window. But when they bought him, they took it all off. So he is there's nothing else out there that looks like Robert.
Yeah.
He's also made of felt and filled with wood, wool, and straw. So he's not comfy to hug either. And he has there is wire frame inside him too.
What kind of dad sees that and is like, yes.
It was a grandpa.
This is the
He
perfect
probably looked
gift.
a lot cuter when he was dressed up like a fucking clown, or a fucking jester, whatever he was. But the plumber went back downstairs, started work, and he started to hear again. But this time he started hearing loud thumping and giggling. He claims he went upstairs and the doll was in a whole nother section of the room.
That's what he would have looked like in the window.
And at that point,
So bad.
the plumber picked up his tools and he left. Back in 1900s, the plumber was like, nope, house spooky, I'm out. And
You know
left.
how many haunted houses I go to on a weekly basis? I'm fucking done. Put it in the job description.
Yeah, but so he bolted. I'm trying to think where we go else. So after all of that, eventually the family moves to Paris for a little while. They leave. They don't sell a house. They keep the house. But they moved to Paris for a little while, and while they're in Paris, they leave Robert behind. The dad would not let Robert come with them. They leave to go to Paris.
I wouldn't want to bring that thing anywhere either.
They go to Paris. They live there for a long time, and eventually Gene becomes interested in art. He goes to a bunch of really high accredited schools over in Paris. He actually went to a school in Chicago and in New York also. Becomes a pretty well-known artist. He stays in Paris after his family decides to move back to the States, where he eventually meets his wife, Annette. Annette is a famous jazz pianist that actually has played for royal family and stuff over there.
When he met Annette, Annette said, Gene, I like that name. It's mine now.
I'm going to slap your mom on the ass, too.
And now Gene goes by Jake.
But he met his wife and they got married May 3rd, 1930. They moved from Paris to New York.
The story is very Hitlery right now.
Whoa, calm down.
Well, they moved from Paris to New York because they tried and think of a place where it could benefit both of them. He is an artist. She is a jazz pianist. They both do great in New York. But eventually, at this point, Jean's dad has already passed away a while ago. His mom falls ill and she passes away. So his brothers reach out to him. They go back home for the funeral, and his brothers convince them, hey, his brothers are actually doing really well for themselves. One's doing really well in the military, and the other's like a really well-established doctor. They're like, we're not leaving our homes and our jobs, but you're just an artist in New York. Come back and take mom's house. It's our family house. We don't need to get rid of it. Come take it. And after convincing his wife, because she didn't want to, because she's a jazz pianist in New York at this time period, she has jobs for days, to come out here to Key West, Florida, and live. So they do. At this point, this whole time, they've had a fantastic relationship. They're doing good. They're in love and everything. They get there, and they're getting the house situated. Eventually, Jean stumbles upon a cedar chest that is riddled with nails. Like something that somebody just beat the shit out of a bunch of nails in the cedar chest. Opens the cedar chest, and lo and behold, who's inside?
Well, if it isn't Gene. Been waiting for you, Gene.
He opens it up, and it is his friend to the end. It's Robert. It was either his mom or his dad. Somebody had put him in the cedar chest and nailed that bitch shut. But he's back home. He's got it. And his local friends, family, and his wife all say the moment that he got reunited with Robert, his personality and everything started to go downhill. Grown-ass man started carrying this doll everywhere with him, including town. At one point, his wife became so uncomfortable with it, she stopped having guests over, and at one point she said, the doll stays in the attic. I don't want it in the rest of the house. And Gene obliged her, but when he did this, he moved his art studio upstairs, and he basically turned the attic into a whole studio / house for Robert, because he started building Robert furniture. Chairs, beds, desk. He built the doll a whole set out.
Damn.
He would talk to the doll. He would demand that the doll be brought dinner before them. His words, because Robert's the man of the house, which tracks with how you talk about Robert. You tell that lady I want dinner before y'all.
And I'm going to slap her on the ass.
I also forgot to mention that they had a family cemetery out in front where their mom was buried. Their mom was buried next to, with full-blown tombstones, buried next to their pet deer and 3 dogs that had full-blown tombstones. That's how wealthy this family was.
That fits.
Yeah.
That tracks.
They had a pet deer that has a tombstone out in that cemetery. But yeah, he did, like I said, he did anything and everything with Robert. And like I said, he kept him in the attic, but like it did not stop Robert from appearing in different places in the house. His wife would say that she would hear something move, and next thing she would know, Robert would be sitting on the couch. Something would break, and Robert would be found in the room or the room next to the room where something broke. And she would swear that people didn't understand because Robert, you've seen a picture of him, he doesn't really have a face that expresses anything.
Yeah.
She was like, Robert's facial expression would change. She was like, you could tell when the doll was angry because it was almost like he had a furrowed brow and like was disgruntled with you, and you could just see it on his face. And with the way that doll looks, if that doll's face did change to look angry, fuck me, that's terrifying. Because can you imagine that thing's brow fucking just dipping?
Yeah.
And then it's like that blanket, like half moon mouth that it has just starts to slowly turn down. Oof, that was rough. But like I said, people would claim that they would see him. Kids would claim, people outside of the street of the house would start to try not to walk near it because they said they would see Robert in the window. And people would be like, hey, could you take that doll out the window? It scares my kid. And Gene would be like, I don't put Robert in the window. I don't want him to get damaged by the sun. Which tracks with how he treats that doll.
Yeah.
So it's Robert.
He sits up in the windows chirping at the
Knocking at
little
the
kids.
window, like, hey!
What's up, you little bastard?
Tell your mom to come up here. I'm going to give her a pat on the ass. You any good at blackjack? Gene sucks. Robert, if you're listening to this, we're sorry. I also want to note to our listeners that we will be sending Robert a letter. I just want to do it out of respect. I mean, better safe than sorry. None of the other podcasts I've listened to have even mentioned it. I mean, if you got to get consent from him to take a picture, we'll be mailing him out a letter this Monday, signed by all of us. I'll throw him in some stickers. The museum asked that people don't send Robert joints anymore because apparently people were sending Robert joints. They send him cash and candy. It might be on Robert's request. He'd be like, send me some of those ganjas. He might actually have hemp in him. He's so old. He might have hemp inside him.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, so we will be sending Robert a letter. But the relationship continued to down spiral. There's even reports of at some point Jean becoming violent with Annette over arguments about Robert. Eventually, Robert did die. He died in 1994. Or sorry, Jean died in 1974. When they claim when they found Jean, he was on the floor with Robert the doll in his hands. People say that not only was Robert in Jean's hands, but Robert was in Jean's hands, and Robert's hands were on Jean's face. Some people was like, because their bond was so close, Robert was mourning the death of his friend. Other people say it was Robert sucking the last little bit of life force out of that guy before he left. I don't know. I don't know if it's factual. I don't know if he was found with him in his hands when he died. Another thing that is really heavily implied, and there is some stuff that kind of factually backs it up, is when he died, Jean made sure in his will that his wife got zero money.
Ooh.
And specifically noted because the way she treated Robert. Now, she did get to keep the house because she is his wife.
Yeah.
So she actually sold the house basically right after Jean's passing, which would kind of track if, in fact, he did not leave her money. That makes sense. Get the money where you can get it.
Yeah.
She died a few years later of just natural causes. This is another thing I'm going to talk about that is agitating as sin. Mm-hmm. A lot of people say that she died 2 years later in a mental asylum because she went insane. That is not true. There is no documentation whatsoever of Annette being put in any kind of mental home, having any kind of psychosis, and she didn't die 2 years after Jean died. She died about 4 or 5 years after he died.
Yeah.
So they did never have kids, though, which tracks because, it seems like all of his attention went to his doll.
So, I mean, if that's the case, where would the money have gone?
No idea. I don't know how it works. I don't know where it went.
It went to Robert.
Robert gets all the money. But the house was sold basically instantly to what was her name? Hold on one sec. Sorry about that. It was bought in 1979, which was a few years after, by Myrtle Reuter. She bought the house and she lived in it for about 6 years. She found Robert also sealed away in a chest because Annette just packed up her personal stuff and left everything else in the house. Robert was sealed up. Annette had a daughter, or not Annette, Myrtle had a daughter who instantly, upon meeting Robert, told her mother that he was evil and hated the doll. The family had some incidents there where stuff would break randomly. They swear they would hear stuff moving around. They moved out of the house after 6 years and continued to own it, but moved out. Mm-hmm. But they brought Robert with them. And they had Robert for 20 years total. The mom took care of it. People speculate that the reason that she held on to him so long is because he forms a pseudo-attachment with people to make sure he survives.
Yeah.
And that the mother was who it bonded to, because the daughter fucking hated him. She cried when she was near him. She begged her mom to get rid of it. Her mom kept her for 20 years until she donated him to the Fort East Martello Museum, where he resides to this day. When she brought him there, she was like, hey, he is haunted. She gave him some backstory. At this point, it's in Key West. Everybody already knows about Robert from his 118 years at this point lifespan. the museum takes him. Myrtle never comes back to see him ever again. And this is when we get into the stuff with the museum. There's people back then, before Robert became a big showcase, people could come and have a private thing, like have them bring him out and then look at him and everything. The people would say that the people working at the museum would be like, I don't want to get him out. Can you come back tomorrow when this person's working and they'll get him out? Like, try to pass the buck.
Yeah.
Be like, I don't want to deal with Robert. Come back tomorrow and this person will help you. And eventually they would move Robert from the back and they would give him his own glass case. They tell people, like, listen, ask Robert for permission before you take a photo with him. It's out of respect. Otherwise, bad things can happen. Bad things being from like brand new cameras just not working. It working, but your memory card's failing and files getting corrupted and ruining people's vacations because all their stuff's lost. To people blaming Robert for car accidents right after they left, broken bones, lost jobs, failed marriages, etc., etc. It goes on and on and on to where Robert the Doll's home at the museum is just chocked full of letters from people begging Robert, hey, I'm sorry. I know that I didn't listen and didn't respect you. I made fun of you, or I took a picture of you without asking, etc., etc. Please forgive me. My life has sucked since. People will send Robert money, the before mentioned joints, candy, just tons of stuff. They say that he gets at least 3 letters a day, every day at that museum. Robert has his own merchandise at the museum, where you can buy replicas of him. A lot smaller, definitely not the same quality. They're not selling wool and wood stuffed dolls. He has been a little bit everywhere. He's visited Zap Bagans' museum. He's been toured a few places, but he always comes back. He is very fucking old at this point. He's 118 years old. They take him out every year to weigh him because they're trying to make sure that he stays in peak condition, because the humidity in Florida, he's stuffed with straw and stuff.
Yeah.
He could easily, something bad could happen with the wrong environment that would cause him to deteriorate very quickly. Because like I said, he's made out of felt and a bunch of other shit. He wasn't meant to last.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job so far. But that's where he lives to this day. You can go there. You can visit him. Like I said, it's strongly suggested if you go visit Robert the Doll, ask for your permission to take a photo. I want to see Robert. I don't even know, honestly, at this point, if I would even take a picture with Robert. Just because, like, it's superstitious and everything. But, like, I don't have to worry about it if I don't do it, you know? It would be cool enough just to see him.
Yeah.
And talk to him, but I wouldn't want to risk it to take a selfie with Robert, because like, you do it and then it turns out that it's real and fucks you. I'm good. But I mean, that is the long history of Robert the Doll. Now, a lot of people read letters that were left for Robert. I'm not going to do that. I feel like it's kind of tacky, because these are people reaching out because for real or superstitious reasons, their life has been rough since they met him. They didn't write those letters to be read out loud on a podcast or on a TV show.
Yeah.
They writ them out of desperation to try to get something.
Yeah.
It's personal. It's not for us. It's for Robert. It's between them. I'm not going to read their letters. Like I said, our team is going to write a letter, and I'm going to mail it off to him just out of respect. I'm just going to send it there. It doesn't cost nothing to throw 3 stamps on a parcel and send it to the museum.
Yeah.
And Robert can add it to his collection, and he can have some stickers with it too. But that's the long history of Robert the Doll. You feel free to dig into it. Look, there's tons of content on him. Like I said, you're going to hear a lot of conflicting stories.
There's a few movies based on him.
They're loosely based on him. It's the Annabelle thing, to where like Robert the Doll has movies where the doll looks nothing like the real doll.
He actually has
Yeah.
a face.
But also, I think that might have something to do with the fact that I think technically the museum has trademarked Robert at this point. So I think technically if they would have made one that looked like him, I think they might have been able to sue them. So
Yeah, maybe so.
same with Annabelle. I mean, like, one, they changed the way Annabelle looked because what they made is horrifying. 2,
Yeah.
Raggedy Ann Company probably would have sued the fuck out of them if they put that in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the story of Robert and Jean. It's just fascinating that it was just such a long life. That Jean's whole life was changed by a doll that was manufactured 2 years after the boy himself was born. He spent all of his life, the whole majority of his life with this doll compared to not with this doll. And a lot of people have something like that. I have two things that I cannot remember not having. I've got Oli, which is the little Tykes ride around that I have that looks like a banana with two eyes and a red nose, red hair, and he's on wheels. I cannot remember at any point in my life where I did not have him. And I have Jingles the bear, which is just a little teddy bear that jingles and is made out of a weird material. Had it my whole life at this point. And it's just weird to think about like something like that. What twisted that thing to where it became what it was? Because it was manufactured. Now, is it the Christine effect? Where like the movie, there were like some things are just born evil. Maybe the doll was manufactured and it was just that.
I mean, or something could attach itself to
It's
the
a
doll.
possibility too. Or did the boy himself manifest something in it? Did it start out as innocent, as him just believing so hard that it was real and just blaming little minute shit on the doll to where the doll developed a personality just based off energy? To where it's like, well, I spent my whole life so far being told that I'm bad because I keep doing all these bad things and that this little boy loves me. So there's two things I'm going to do in this life. I'm going to fuck shit up and I'm going to love this little boy till he dies. There's no telling.
Yeah, I don't know. It is something I'll be touching on a little bit in the episode that I'm doing this month. Some questions that get raised and some theories. Or not really theories, but stuff talking about like dolls and things. So
Yeah. Like I said, it's weird. It's just hard to think about because like I think that's why so many people tried to put their own spin on it with the voodoo curse and shit like that, is because they're trying to put more of a reason to it. Like there has to be a reason why this doll's like this. There doesn't necessarily have to be a reason. It doesn't have to be a curse. Doesn't have to be a spirit. Tulpas are a thing. A lot of people believe that people just can will things into existence out of just sheer willpower. It could be a number of things. And hell, it could be something minute. Like what if somebody fucking died on a farm in a horrible sheep shearing accident and some of that wool ended up in fucking Robert and that's why he's fucking possessed. There is no telling. But what we do know is it definitely was not a fucking Haitian curse. It was made by the Stife Company. The doll was manufactured. He wasn't made by a servant. Yeah. But that's the story of Robert the Doll. I hope everybody dug it. That's our first Dolltober episode, kicking it off on a Saturday when we're normally people of the Wednesday. So I hope that doesn't throw you guys off. We'll actually have Golden Jay's episode about a doll just a few days from now on Wednesday. Which I'm still not 100% certain on which ones he's doing. I think he's doing multiple small stories about different dolls.
yeah, I think that's right.
But I'm going to circle back to, remember folks, we've got limited edition Dolltober merch hitting on our store, www.theunitedstatesofparanormal.com. Just click that merch link, check them out, tell us what you think. Hit us up on our socials. We're at Facebook at the United States of Paranormal Podcast.
I think so.
We're on Instagram, Twitter. Matt has links to some of the crew's personal socials if you want to message us. There's tons of ways to reach out to us. Remember to review and leave a review if you're on Apple. I don't think Spotify gives you an option to review anymore these days. You can leave a rating, but I don't think you can leave an actual written review. We love seeing them. Even if you got constructive criticism or just criticism, hit us with it.
Yeah, a great place where you can go and leave a comment on our YouTube channel.
I always forget to say the YouTube channel too. We've got a really cool animation on the YouTube channel too with Haskins and Skunk Ape.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out. We look forward to hearing from everybody. I hope everybody has a great Halloween this year and a great October. And come enjoy Dolltober with us. It's our first big event. And we're doing it upright. More content than ever in this month. Like you said, we have this episode today, and we'll have an episode capping us off at the very end of us at the brewery. We've got a crossover coming up with the Call Guys. We've got, in a few weeks from now, we'll have our first ever episode with Team Boozers. So you have that to look forward to too. Anybody
Doing
else
it
got
up
anything else they
big.
want to chime in?
No, that's it for
Yeah,
me.
I think that's it. Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been Logan.
It's been Matt.
Boze.
Remember, folks, just because it's cute doesn't mean it's not deadly or a dick that'll slap your mom on the ass. Keep it spooky.
To support other Golden Mojo Entertainment productions, check out Golden Image Podcast, The Call Guys, and Murd Nerds wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts. To see photos and find new episodes of the United States of Paranormal, follow us on our social media. Twitter at TUSOPPOD or Instagram at the United States of Paranormal and Facebook, the United States of Paranormal. If you have a place that you'd like us to look into or would like to share your spooky story that we can read on the air, please email us at the United States of Paranormal at gmail.com.